G'day everyone, welcome to another episode of the Purple Coloured Glasses. In this episode, I'll go through Freo's disappointing loss against the Demons and how I went with my tips for round 20. So first, let's get on to the Freo game, and I'm wearing black because I'm in mourning. David Mundy has announced his retirement today, and it does leave me a little bit emotional, a little bit sad. He's been an absolute warrior for us. He's been probably our best player in the 2013 Grand Final. He's kicked an after the goal siren against the Tigers to back up a performance where he kicked a goal with about 30 seconds left to break the Tigers fans' hearts twice. He's Mr. Reliable, always good with ball in hand. And he'll go down as one of my favourite ever Dockers players. I'm not sure if he was sort of pushed or tapped on the shoulder, but I think in the end it was sort of mutual between Dave and the club that he's been a great servant both for Freo, and Freo have treated him very well as well, and I think it's a really good end to his career. Go out with a little bit left in the tank, and he'll be remembered fondly. So let's start with the Freo game on Friday night up against the D's. Bit made of this one in the aftermath. I was quite frustrated at the game. I really thought we weren't getting the rub of the green. But then when I sort of let it sink in and digest afterwards, there's a few things that I did want to talk about. So first, I do think Melbourne were better. There were a few momentum changing free kicks, but over the whole course of the game, didn't really impact the result. There's also been a lot talked about our wet weather football. I don't really think this played into it too much. Yes, it was a bit wet at the start in periods of the game where it rained, but really it didn't impact the way we played. What I do think has been off for the last month or so is we're really playing with like we've got something to lose now. It was actually really interesting. I heard David Mundy actually say that on an interview this evening just before recording this, and I've been thinking this for a while. Is at the start of the year, we're a team that hasn't played finals in 7 years. Let's just go for it. Who knows what might happen? And we find ourselves in the top four, and teams are people are talking about finishing top two and getting a home final and getting a prelim and flag mantle and all this stuff. And I think the mentality of the team kind of changed, and it seemed like we were playing more to not lose games, and we'd play well for quarters here or there, but we just didn't have that desire to take the game on so much. And that sentiment was sort of reflected today in a few presses. Looking at the stat sheet, right? 7 out of the 10 winning disposals or disposal winners on Friday night were Fremantle players. So only Jack Viney, Petrarca, and Angus Brayshaw were in the top 10. We've got Brody, Mundy, and Andrew Brayshaw, Aish, Hayden Young, Luke Ryan, Caleb Sarong. In that top 10, and I think there's just a lot we're just moving the ball around but not really going anywhere with it. Sort of as the anger sort of seeped away in that sort of late second quarter, third quarter, as I realised we weren't going to mount a comeback and get over the top of the Davids, I was more just sitting back like, what aren't we doing right here? And we're just trying to whip it around and handball our way out of congestion, and whether that's creating some of this forward disconnection because they're sort of coming up expecting a kick out of the pack, kick doesn't come, then they're out of position, and now our half forwards not really creating the contest, and we're rolling up a half forward into the contest to make an extra, and then we're not handballing forward out of the contest. It's like we're bringing the extra numbers up and we're not coming out the front of the stoppage, we're always coming out the back of the stoppage, mess around with it a bit. And we do look dangerous when we can find that switch kick and actually move it through the corridor. But often we just sort of hand pass it around the back and then hat kick it forward. And then the interceptors are just eating us for breakfast. And Melbourne have one of the best interceptor lineups in the comp with Lever and May. I thought Petty also came in, and Melksham did a good job to sort of free those two guys up to play a bit loose and really break up our play. And our inside 50 differential has just been shocking the last couple of weeks now as well. Like, we're getting our hands on the ball, we're winning clearances, but we're getting beaten in inside 50s. So, one, we're not using the ball effectively when we get it. And two, when we do put the ball forward, teams are just rebounding against us too easily. And that's got to be a combination of the way we're putting the ball in, and the way our forwards are structuring up. I don't give our forwards a free pass. I think Lobb and Taberner didn't really provide good contests. I'm not sure if Taberner's actually playing injured, and it'd be good for him to have a rest and just sort out what's going on with his back issues. It could actually be like it's an everyday thing. They have spoken about it before. His back spasms. But if he's no good, maybe just sit him down. Might be better off playing 2 rucks and get Meek in. I think Darcy's a bit banged up as well. Or you look at bringing someone like Josh Tracy in, or Sam Sturt. Tracy, I think, is the better sort of match player, physical prowess wise in terms of height and strength. But he was ill over the weekend. Didn't play waffle. Sam Sturt kicked, I think, 4 goals. And started putting a bit more pressure on, which I think's been the sort of knock on him. He's a good shot for goal. He just seems to be one of those players that kicks goals, and we don't have as many of those. Tucker and Crowden were tearing it up in the waffle. And Erasmus and Johnson have been solid as well. So if we're looking at making some changes, there are some guys you can bring in there. So I don't think we're playing like really, really poorly and we can't fix it. I think there is just a lot of belief here. Guys need to go back to chancing your arm a bit. If we get beat, we get beat, but at least get beat and trying to win the game. And I think we need to back our defence in more. Like we do have good one-on-one defenders. And yep, we might get isolated and they might get caught out a bit. And you might get made to pay sometimes, but I think we just need to trust each other a bit more and just go for it. So let's talk about the other games. Collingwood against Port Adelaide. Collingwood defied me again. Had someone commenting saying I should stop tipping against Collingwood, and I might have to stop tipping against Collingwood. I think in this 10-match winning streak they're on, I've only tipped them 5 or 6 times. So not a good strike rate there. Port Adelaide again. They come back when they come back at the stage where it looks like game's over. Might as well just throw everything at them. But in this one, they actually had a bit of a lead at the start. But all props to Collingwood. Just keep getting it done. And it's going to be a bit of a what-if season. Lots of close ones for Port Adelaide, and you start off 0-5. This could have been another year where they were playing finals. It'll be interesting to see at the end of the year if they're going to do any sort of recalibration with their list or anything like that. Sydney against Giants. I think Giants got the first goal or 2, but then Sydney just really put the foot down and annihilated GWS. And the coach, Mark McVeigh, came out and gave a lot of the players a whack. So it'll be interesting to see if GWS will fire up in the last couple of weeks. I hope they do sort of go on holidays early for the last game of the season when they're playing Freo. But there could be a bit of a handful for Essendon, I think, is who they play next. Saints up against Hawthorn. One where the Saints, the non-believers would probably think St Kilda would drop this game, and they certainly had the potential to. And they didn't. They kicked inaccurately, though, so that they almost shot themselves in the foot. But, yeah, just a very mature performance, got this one done. And they move into 8th position, and they're probably the team between Richmond, Western Bulldogs, and the Saints that people like. They're the 3rd seed. But currently they hold that position. They've got to go over and play the Cats, though, this week. So that'll be a tough one. And their fellow top 8 aspirant, the Dogs, had to play the Cats. And they got off to a good start. I thought, oh, here we go. But I think they were at 20-odd points ahead. And then, yeah, Geelong just wheeled them in. And ended up getting quite a convincing win over the Doggies. I think, though, yeah, the lack of key position players, particularly down back, as I thought, sort of would catch up with the Doggies. And yeah, the Cats just too good at home. Got a great record against the Dogs at GMHBA. But for the Dogs, probably not too concerned because they know the Saints have to go play the Cats now, and they're playing Freo, who they'd probably back themselves against. So interesting to see that race for the final position. And maybe even 7th, because the next game, Adelaide against Carlton. Carlton stuffed this game up. I thought I was talking historically this is a game they would lose. But they've been quite mature in recent weeks, just getting the wins against those teams they're expected to beat. I didn't realise they'd never won in Adelaide Oval. I may have tipped Adelaide had I known that before this game. They were talking about it on the radio, I think it was, when I was listening to parts of this game. I was out and about. I was like, had I known that, I would have gone against them, I think. I don't mind the old venue picks. But well played, Adelaide. Ben Kay's an amazing game. 30-odd with 3 goals. And yeah, they just looked a bit hungrier, and Carlton looked off. They did sort of just rock up, I think, expecting to win. And I think maybe at home you can expect that. When Adelaide are travelling, you can probably expect that. But when Adelaide are at home, they've been fairly solid this year. I think there's only been the one game where they've got absolutely smacked. Every other game, they've been competitive for periods. So I don't know why Carlton thought, this will be an easy one. And then they got a few injuries as well with I think Kennedy got a hamstring. No, he got concussed. Owens, I think, got an injury, and someone else as well. So it wasn't a great game for them. You drop the points, and then you also have a few players out injured, which might upset the apple cart a little bit heading towards the back end of the season. They got a tough road home. They got to play Brisbane, Melbourne, and Collingwood. So if they're not careful, they might drop out of the 8. Maybe 2 of those teams that are chasing could catch them. They've got some tough games as well. So if they can get a few upsets in there, and Carlton just fall away completely, I do think Carlton will win at least one of those games. But yeah, now it's not as smooth sailing as they once thought it was. Gold Coast against West Coast. Gold Coast got out to a pretty handy lead, and I thought this might be a sort of cue in the rack type game for West Coast, and they'd give up a 50-point thumping or something like that. But they fought back very admirably, and their very accurate goal kicking once again kept them in it. And Jack Darling kicked 5-6 goals, topped the coaches' votes. They're showing something, West Coast. You got to give them that. But yeah, Gold Coast, they'll probably be kicking themselves over a couple of these close games if they just manage to nick them and just stay in this top 8 race for a bit closer. I think they're too far back to make a late charge. But yeah, I think for them it's been a good year. They've been a lot more consistent. They have not been an easy road trip to go up to Metricon and play them. I think for the next couple of years, most teams won't look forward to seeing them on the fixture list. They get back Ben King and a couple of other blokes who are out on long-term injuries as well. And they've still got a youngish list, so they get another year of development in them. And Took Miller's been excellent. He's now on top of the coaches' votes, likely to get another All-Australian Guernsey from backing up from last year. And he's just a really good two-way midfielder. Just rocks up every week. And that's what they need, Gold Coast. They just need more consistent contributors. I think getting guys in like Chol and Casbolt, even though Casbolt's not necessarily your most consistent type, he just provides a contest and gives them something to kick to. I think Ben King will be a big upgrade on him last year. But can you imagine if they didn't get Casbolt in and they just had Chol? I think their forward line would have really struggled this year. Tigers against Brisbane. So I tipped the Tigers in this one. The old venue pick. Haven't won there since 2014. And Richmond have a really good record in the last 5-10 years over Brisbane. That's all. I think they won 12 in a row, and Brisbane won 2 of the last 3. But I thought, yeah, the Tigers got the wood on them here in this one. And then the Lions were out to a 42-point lead pretty early, and I was like, well, I got this wrong. This was the one where Brisbane, put their mark on it and go, we are a serious team. We can come here to the MCG. And it is all mental mindset stuff. There's no, teams don't have the capacity or the game plans flawed to play on certain grounds. Like, I think that's a joke. Wow, whenever that's brought up. It's all mental. It's all mindset. And it's just the monkey on the back. And every time you lose, it gets brought up again and gets brought up again. And, Freo's had that as well. Like, we could just never beat Hawthorn. But it was always about, at the MCG. Well, in that sort of period where we were going up against them to try win flags and play in finals, we played them, I think, only twice in Perth. We beat them one time in Perth, and they beat us in a prelim in the other game in Perth. and they would smoke us at the MCG and in Tassie. So it wasn't really much to do with the venue. It was more just we couldn't get over our mental block to beat Hawthorn, and Hawthorn were a good side as well. It's not. There's no two ways about it, but yeah, it's the same for the Lions. Like you're 42 points up, you win almost, I don't know, 95% of the time or 99% of the time when you've got that lead, irrespective of venue. So missed opportunity for the Lions. They've actually fallen out of the top four with that result. They'll be kicking themselves because they got some tough games as well coming up. They'll be favoured in their home games, but Carlton and Demons in Brizzy, no gimmies. And then the last game, the Bombers against North, kind of the expected shellacking here from Essendon. And I thought early on maybe North could give it a bit of a shake and, move out of last position, bump West Coast down. But not to be. And so, yeah, pretty much the expected result. Essendon really providing a flattering end of season ladder position. A lot of these wins, I think, don't really matter. Because there's no pressure. It's kind of like the opposite of Freo. Like we were playing well when we had nothing to lose, and now that we have something to lose, we're playing poorly. And Essendon played poorly to start the year because we've got to make finals again and back up their expectation. And now that there's no expectation, they're playing good again. Our form lines are almost mirrored, I think, this year, or opposite. So yeah, those were my. That was my review of the round so far. Let me know what you thought about the games this week. What's your favourite David Mundy moment? For me, it'll always be that after the siren goal against Richmond, where we gave up a goal somehow and Ross Lyons stormed off and he's going down the elevator. When he retells the story, he didn't actually see that, Lockie Neal has won the tap from Sandilands and he's found David Mundy on an angle and he just went back ice cold and slotted it. So yeah, I'll see you all later in the week for my preview for the upcoming round. Until then, I'll catch you all later. Bye.